It's the Green Rush Nation podcast. I just had the bluest dream that you've ever seen, and I can't believe that shit was green, cause it hit so clean, and my history is a mystery. I don't give a fuck, I just hit the tree on the 5th degree. We don't pit for free. If you don't got 5 shit, get up and leave. It's the Green Rush Nation podcast.
Yo, what's going on, guys? This is the Green Rush Nation podcast. We got another episode with another legend in the industry. This guy has some crazy stories, and I'm excited to get into it. It's our friend Sean from Murphy's Ridge.
Yo, what's up, big dog?
How you doing out here? How's the travels in?
Chilling, dude. Actually, a straight drive from San Diego right to here.
Beautiful. How was that ride? I know sometimes it could not be so good. No traffic?
Sprinter hits the carpool lane every time, bro.
Love it. I love it.
You know what I'm saying? I don't get pulled over. They don't know if there's 1 or 20 of us in that.
That's true. That's very true. Shit, that's a good technique. I think we need to get a sprinter
fast track too helps.
Absolutely. So shit, here on the Green Rush Nation podcast, we don't want to just know about your business ventures and your great brand that you have. We want to know about you as a person. So I don't know if you do remember, but the first time you ever encountered the plant and the first time you smoked it, do you remember?
Yes. That's a crazy, sick question.
Okay.
The first time I encountered the plant was, I was probably about maybe 10, 11.
Okay.
My oldest brother, I'm the youngest of like 5. My oldest brother's always been in and out of jail, just crazy criminal activities.
Damn.
God bless him. I still love you, Robert.
Of course.
But he had just robbed some fucking backyard boogie or something, because I can't
man.
imagine it was anything like from up north or anything, because we're from the Bay.
Okay.
So the whole backyard was stringed out with like clotheslines and full plants.
Wow.
Just hanging
Drying?
right there. Yeah, just
Crazy.
drying.
Crazy.
And I was like, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah.
But my family already kind of hustled a little bit, you know, so I'd already seen some shit, obviously, growing up. So it was like, first time I saw the plant, though, was then.
Okay.
And then as far as smoking the first time, I really don't remember exactly. I just remember one distinct time that I smoked with my best friend, Rudy.
Okay.
And we were in like 6th grade, maybe like it was like right around the end of the spring, you know.
Okay.
And we got high as fuck. I was lit. And I looked at Rudy and I was like, bro, I'm going to wait till summer before I start smoking every day.
Uh-huh.
And that was it.
And that was it after
That was
summer?
pretty much it. Yeah. Well, when summer broke for 6th grade, I was fucking thinking my ass was Rick Ross and shit.
You were rapper
Like,
weed, huh?
No, the real Rick Ross. You know
Oh,
what I'm
okay, the
saying?
freeway Rick Ross.
Yeah, because I started slinging dime bags and shit.
Got
started
you.
slinging nickels.
At 16?
No, at like 12.
Damn.
Yeah, because you got to remember, I was kind of introduced to
At a young age.
Yes,
Yeah.
like, you know, I didn't grow up like I'd prefer like most people grow up. You know what I mean? Like the way I raised my sons was no way in any way, shape, or form the way I was raised.
Okay.
Even though like my parents, I love them, passed away, God bless, R.I.P. But at the end of the day, you know, you're not doing you're not cooking meth at the house. You're not selling weed. You're not, you know, doing lines of blow on the fucking living room table.
Yeah.
That shit ain't acceptable.
Hell no.
You know what I'm saying? So
For
it's
sure.
like, as a parent, you have to put your foot down. And even if you are a partier, or even if you do know about the shit,
Yeah.
you got to like represent a whole different entity. You know what I'm
course.
saying? You
Yeah.
have to be the model that you want motherfuckers to try to be. So,
Exactly. That's why the biggest thing is parents, don't be a hypocrite. You know, you can do it and you're going to tell your kid to not do it. But if they see you doing it all the time,
I think
chances
there's
are-
I think there's a point in time where you could still be a hypocrite and be a well, you know, it's like
Of
the road
course.
to hell is paved with good intentions.
yeah.
I definitely was smoking, you know, a little bit of weed in the truck right before fucking the little league game and shit
Yeah.
like that. So I couldn't be too much of a hypocrite, but at the same time, I don't want my kids smoking weed in 6th grade
Definitely not.
or 8th grade.
Yeah.
You know, I try to tell my kids what's up straight up.
There's a time and a place.
Yeah, not like in a sense of like, I'm putting my foot down, you know, like you motherfuckers. It was more like, look, check it out, guys. I know what's cracking. All
Yeah.
right, I know what's going down. I know motherfuckers are popping a bunch of you know, I have one son that graduated 2010, one that graduated 2014, and then one that graduated 2020.
Okay.
So, you know, I'm kind of
Little spread out.
a little spread out because, hey, that's,
that's how it works.
That's just how it works, bro. Can't plan this shit. And so, I kind of was just like, hey, check it out. I know you guys are going to be hit up with weed. Obviously, it's not really the weed I'm tripping on, even though I know that, because I tried to raise athletes, keep them busy, keep them in, fucking Muay Thai, Krav, CrossFit, personal coaching, for pitching or football players or wrestling. Okay. And it was like, I know you're going to be hit up with all kinds of shit, from coke to fucking, Norcos to parties, everything, bro.
All that shit.
And they grew up in the East Bay, and it's kind of an affluent little valley. So it's kind of San Ramon Valley, Walnut Creek, Pleasanton, Danville.
Okay.
So that's where they all went to high school and shit like that, except for my youngest son moved over to Hawaii for a couple of years. But that was when me and moms were like, I'm like 4 or 5 years into the injury. My wife just looks, she's just like robotic. You know what I mean? I'm like, hey, babe, you look a little depressed. And she's like, you think? And I'm like, well, why don't you move over to Hawaii? We go to Hawaii every year. We love Hawaii. You know what I mean? I know I'm grinding like 8 days a week. I'm never around. Yeah. Bro, she had a lease in Hawaii on a condo in like 2 weeks.
Wow.
And I was like, all right, sounds good. Yeah. Man, I figured it'd be a super cool experience for my youngest son.
For sure.
Because he went to 8th grade and 9th grade over in Oahu.
Okay.
And so it was like quite an experience. They lived there for almost, kind of going on 2.5 years.
That's
or something
fucking
like
cool, man.
I finally was like, hey, babe, you got to move back.
Yeah.
Like,
I need you back over here.
Well, we got a 5-bedroom house. I know I found out we kind of separated when she moved over there. It was kind of funny because, it's like, bro, we've been together forever. So like right now we've been together for like 34 years.
God bless.
So the funny thing is I moved her over there. I was going over there to visit for the first time, but some of my wife's girlfriends, which are also my friends, were like, Sean, I'm so sorry, man, about the split up. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, you and Terry, I'm sorry you guys, kind of separated. I'm like, oh, this is news to me. And then I talked to my wife and she's like, I'm living in Hawaii. I'm like, yeah, but I thought you just wanted to move there. So we're separated for a minute, and she's like, yeah. I'm like, well, it's all gravy. I love you still, but Absolutely. I'm going to I'll be visiting every month. So I smashed over there every month for like 4 days just to pick the kid up from school, go do some surfing shit. I met a bunch of different that's another crazy story, but I met a whole tribe over there in like 2015.
Wow.
Motherfuckers that were all paralyzed from all around the world. We had a contest in Hawaii on the beach. And I thought, bro, like when I rolled up to the sand, I should back up and tell everybody I'm in a wheelchair from a gunshot wound and stuff like that.
We'll get into that.
But I'll get in. Yeah. But I thought, bro, if I got up to the edge of the sand, I'd be just bummed.
Yeah.
Looking at the sand thinking like, what the I'm not being able to push out there. I can't do anything. Yeah. I tried some adaptive sports up to then, but my outlet was really just getting back on the horse and grinding.
Yeah.
So, we're talking like 2011 all the way up to 15. And here I am finally just like, you know what? I'll go do this surf contest.
Yeah.
Screw it.
Yeah.
Boom. I go out there and I killed it because, I'm athletic. I'm blessed. I'm not conceited, but I'm just, I'm thankful that I have skills.
For sure.
And I went out there, man. I fucking surfed against a bunch of different other people from Brazil, Argentina, France, UK.
And how does that work?
Well, we're all classified just like Paralympics and stuff like that. So you get classifications depending on if you're missing limbs, if you have like cerebral palsy, if you have, spinal cord injury, which is like what happened to me. And then they classify you on what division your abilities are.
Okay.
So for me, I can paddle myself, luckily, thank God. And there's another division. We surf laying down, obviously.
Okay.
It's kind of hard to pop up.
That's what I was going to ask.
So it's kind of, it's like you're surfing on a big boogie board.
Okay, sick.
It's a surfboard. It's usually custom designed because it has a little more volume.
Yep.
It has to have a little bit of a special kind of shape on the deck.
Okay.
So your chest can arch. And then, bam, there's a little handle on there so you can just start ripping.
That's sick.
And then you're surfing.
Hell
It's the sickest shit in the world.
It's probably a blast.
Yeah, I mean, I've done so many activities. I always talk to other people in wheelchairs and shit, and I always tell them, I said, look, man, physical therapy is straight suicide prevention. You know what I'm saying? Like if you work out, even if you're just going to 24-hour or you're going to your local gym and you can't get like actual like physical therapy from a physical therapist because you just can't afford it. Yeah. I don't care if you just have to lift your arms and do shoulder circles.
Work on it.
It'll help you out. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So, you know, I dove into trying to do some shit right away. Yeah. You know, like I went to the VA hospital. I was like, let's get after it.
Absolutely.
Where's the fucking jarheads? Where's all the go-getters? Like, we're doing pull-ups. And I found out, nah, you got nothing. They're not doing any of that.
Crazy.
They're just like getting you from the bed to the wheelchair or from the car to the wheelchair. And then they're like, peace out.
See you later.
And you're like, all right, I got to figure everything else out on my own. Like how to like build muscle back up, how to like try to like work on traps or work on shoulders or try to work on something that works, you know, but that's how they classify you in all those surf contests.
Okay.
And go ahead, bro.
I was just going to say, speaking of the injury now would probably be a good time to get into it. I know you're a veteran, but you said that this injury did not come from.
Yeah, I'm a veteran, but didn't get a gunshot wound on deployment, nothing like that. I'm not even a GWOT guy. So, you know, I don't know if you guys know what GWOT is, but
I'm not
that's
familiar.
The global war on terrorism. So that's kind of a after 9/11 era of the military. You know what I mean? I was a 90s military guy. You know what I mean? I was a parachute rigger, basically just trying to get out of the fucking grind, bro. You know what I'm saying? I mean, my family is nuts. And, you know, I had to join the military because I was like, this is a phenomenal way out of this whole situation.
Absolutely.
And
who do you got on your lap here, by the way?
Oh, this is Bailey, bro.
What's up, Bailey?
Yeah, Bailey's just waking up, chilling. She's 14. I've had her since I've been paralyzed.
God bless.
So she's just like looking at this table right now thinking like, Dad, I might just sit up on that thing. She always tries to jump on my demo stands. Okay. Like when I'm in the store. Yep. It's hella funny because she just likes to like lay down right next to me. Yeah. But most of the time she'll just sit on my lap. Yeah, my wife got me this dog because she said I was depressed after the gunshot wound. Uh-huh. And it wasn't that I was depressed. I told her, I said I was stressed because, you know, I had 3 mortgages, 3 kids. One was 19, one was 15, one was 10. I took care of my mom. My whole family kind of trapped with me in a sense. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So like in the cannabis world, it's kind of weird. A lot of things will revolve around the grows. Yeah. You know, so if you're the cultivator, everything kind of comes from that. Of course. And so like after my injury, I was in a coma. So I got a gunshot wound. I'll back up.
Yes,
sorry.
Let's hear it. No problem.
I got a gunshot wound at one of my indoor grows in March of 2011.
Jesus.
So I just got done spreading out like about 700 plants. I was just flipping a room. It was a Sunday night. I heard a bunch of I saw the power kind of flicker and go out, and I was like, what the fuck? Yeah. And then I started hearing like boom, boom, boom. And I was like, oh shit, I'm getting raided. Yeah. And so anyway, I ran hella fast down towards the front door of this spot just to open the door and be like, what up? You know, I'm all good. Yeah. All good. It's all good. Yeah. You know? And right at the last second, I realized, because I was actually standing like this at the door, and it was just about to get breached. I knew it because it's like there's no way this door was gonna last too much more. And plus, you know, I thought it was cops on the other side with like a breaching device and just bam. So anyway, right at the last second, my mind was like, that's not the cops. They're not yelling police. And I took my arms down like this, and I turned into a fighting stance. And then, boom, right at that second, the fucking door breached. I saw the silhouettes of about 3 cats. And then, boop, boop, boop. That's crazy. One of the bullets went right. It actually hit me right where your arm meets your chest. Okay. And since I was at a fucking angle, excuse my French, the bullet came through me like, you know, hot knife on butter. Yeah. And just, and I went from standing up to laying down, not knowing anything yet. You know what I'm saying? Like I didn't know I was paralyzed. Fuck. I barely knew anything about spinal cord injuries at this point. Holy shit. So anyway, I started trying to army crawl out of this spot because at that point, these dudes just ran. Yeah. They just bounced.
So that was it. They just let tops off and they didn't even do anything. That's crazy.
Well, they were probably going to get maybe a 30, 40 pack. You know, I had a bunch of Fire OG, not Fire the strain, just some like SFE, kind of some OG Rascals kind of cut. It was primo fucking OG. It was the shit.
Yeah.
And yeah, dude. So I fucking tried thinking, because this is how my brain thinks. I was like, oh, this is all good. I could remedy this situation. Yeah. I'm just gonna low crawl out of this motherfucker, close the door, nothing to see here. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And I passed out, woke up in a hospital about 6 weeks later.
Holy shit.
Because I got life flighted from this spot to a trauma center. Yeah. And I was in a coma for about 6 weeks. So I woke up after taxes were due in April. And I'm on a ventilator. I'm intubated, the whole nine. You know, I got chest tubes,
God bless, bro.
feeding tubes, and I got crazy stories just from the hospital. But it was a trip because, you know, obviously I'm laid up. I'm in this fucking hospital bed, and my wife, man, God bless her. I love you, babe. She's standing right next to me. You got to understand, dude, my wife is like a square. You know, when I met my wife, bro, she didn't smoke weed. She still don't smoke weed. Don't barely drink, never had a cigarette. You know, none of that stuff. She married the bad boy. And I always wanted to be a good boy, but I'm just, you know, I'm just built the way I am. Yeah. But anyway, she's like, everything's gonna be okay. And I'm looking at her like, I can't even fucking talk. I'm in a hospital. I think I got shot at my grow. I don't remember anything yet. I'm far from thinking everything's going to be okay.
Of course.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I know what's going on, really. Yeah. And I just got woken up from this coma. And so anyway, the next fucking 3-4 weeks was all about just trying to get out of ICU, get these fucking ventilators off of me. Well, they had to transfer me to another ICU because Kaiser wanted me. Yeah. Because they flew me to the nearest trauma center, and I was there for a long time. And so I guess I had a fat-ass bill.
Yeah, I'm sure.
And so they had to take me by ambulance to another trauma center in Oakland. Okay. And then that's where I ended up getting off all the machines and then going to a rehab up in Vallejo. And then just fucking, you know, not crushing, but like, it was funny because coming home back to San Ramon from Vallejo in like, you know, May or June or some shit. It was crazy because I rolled past, you know, I know the East Shore Freeway, you know, you're smashing by Berkeley. I can't drive. I can't do shit. You know, I'm weak as fuck. I can barely move my arms. I can only imagine, yeah. And I look out at Alcatraz and I talk some shit and I tell my wife, I'm like, yeah, I'm going to swim Alcatraz. And then I ended up doing that shit in 2015.
That's crazy.
Yeah, that was dope. That was fun as fuck. But yeah, getting back to the recreational therapy because, I got shot, paralyzed, injured, recouped, got back out of the house, you know, or got back out of the hospital, got to the house, and then, you know, got right back up on the horse.
So at that point, there was no second guessing about getting out of cannabis. You were just like, fuck it.
Brother, that's the kind of funny thing about a lot of us, and I'm talking about the cats that have been in this game, like most, like their lives or their folks were in the game, and bro, I don't really want to do anything else.
Absolutely.
And I've also given so much to this industry that it's like, I want to leave when I want to leave, not just because a gunshot wound or because corporate cannabis came in and just pushed us out of our own industry.
Absolutely.
To supply like crazy, like shitty products to a consumer that doesn't even know any better because they're just following the machine.
Yeah. So you really love this shit.
Well, I smoke weed my whole life, bro. I'm 50, and I'm one of those like Wiz Khalifa smokers. You know what I'm saying? I try to get up at 6 and go to bed at midnight. You know what I mean? If I got to work all night, I'll do it.
Hell yeah.
You know, at the end of the day, I know people that work harder than me, but
it's not many.
It's hard to find them.
It's true.
Even this venture, you know, getting Murphy's Ridge off the ground, getting into like 50, 60 stores, being somewhat of a success. Cause, you know, success is, you know, not yesterday. Yeah. It's today and tomorrow and the future. You know, it's like, you know, nobody cares about your last harvest. You know, they care about this one, you know. But at the end
Speaking of it though, when did you come up with the idea for Murphy's Ridge? And how did it come about?
Well, so our farm is up in Murphy's, California. Okay. So the Murphy's part was always there because we love Murphy's. Okay. Murphy's is the shit.
Okay.
It's kind of like
I took my first trip up to the Bay the other day. I went to San Jose, but I would love to go and explore. It was beautiful.
Yeah, San Jose's beautiful. The Bay is beautiful, but we're about 2.5 hours from San Jose.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? So, like, if you leave San Jose and you smash up towards or Bear Valley,
Okay.
we're about an hour south of Tahoe and about an hour north of Yosemite,
Okay.
but about an hour and a half east of Stockton.
Okay.
So, like, when you start getting into the Central Valley, you have to go up into the Sierra Nevadas.
Gotcha.
And it's a very, super sick microclimate for cannabis.
Okay.
It's kind of like some of the most sought after areas in the Emerald Triangle.
Absolutely.
So, the way the mountains are is there's certain areas that are better than others.
For growing.
Yes.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
absolutely.
For the humidities, for the temperatures,
Yeah.
For just elevation, so Murphy's Ridge we're a 200-acre property on a super sick-ass ridge line looking out, towards Sacramento and the Bay. You can see Mount Diablo. You could see, you could see forever on a clear day.
Yeah.
And we're a small half-acre of mixed light and 1 acre full sun.
Okay.
So we're a small, craft farm, all single sourced, all just in-house.
Okay.
That's
do you guys do any regenerative soil or?
Funny you say that.
Okay.
A lot of people in the game don't know nothing about K&F,
Yep.
okay? Korean natural farming.
Okay.
And that's regenerative farming.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's kind of like, now my partner Colin, he's the grower. He's my better half, if you will. We're homies, but obviously, I'm not doing any work.
Yeah.
We've owned this property. We've been growing up there for probably about 10 years.
Okay.
Calaveras County has a crazy history in the industry. So if you know anything about Calaveras County, they licensed everybody and then they banned it for like 3 years.
Wow.
And then they reopened it back up after everybody sued the county and we had to go through a bunch of fucking hoops.
Wow.
And we had to like leave a 19-acre property and go buy this 200-acre property because we knew that after they reinstated the licenses, it was going to be on 40-acre parcels or more.
Wow.
Couldn't grow anything on
Yeah.
a 40 or less.
That's crazy.
And so it's been a whirlwind of like up and down all around up there in Murphy's. But yeah, Murphy's Ridge is just literally that's what it is. Murphy's Ridge.
Yeah, it's a ridge.
It's a ridge in Murphy's. And the funny thing about Murphy's Ridge too, I've also kind of like over the years kind of evolved the brand into mentally. I haven't really tried to market it as this or kind of like try to get out there and tell people, but Murphy's Ridge is a perspective thing. You know what I'm saying? Like if a guy like me can like try to be successful in this field when it's so challenging, it's all about perspective, and it's like, you're either fucked or you're not fucked. Only you can decide that.
Absolutely.
And so like, Murphy's Ridge at the end of the day, could be a perspective analysis as well.
Yeah.
Because no matter however you look at it in life, if you take an accounting of where you are, there's shit to be grateful for.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? It doesn't matter what it is, but once you turn that mentality towards gratitude and you kind of tweak that perspective, bam, you're on the right frequency now.
Like we just talked about before, energy is everything, and it's reciprocated.
100%.
So the energy you put out and the energy you seek, you will find.
100%.
Yep.
I mean, everybody that's experienced bad moods, they tend to not get out of the bad mood until they decide they're going to make it happen.
Yeah.
They tend to like think of something that makes them happy rather than being like, fuck, I'm bummed out.
And
you know what I'm
just
saying?
Gonna stay in a bad mood.
And it's like, you're never 50, you're never in the middle either, period. I mean, I respect everybody's opinion and it's all to them.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, you're never in the middle. You're either fucking 51% this or 49% that. And that's it.
It's true.
I'm just, I'm not going to say you're on the fence. You're either happy or sad. You're not in the middle.
That's it.
There's no fucking Switzerland.
And it's a choice you make every day. You can either choose to be happy or you choose to be sad.
And it doesn't mean every day you choose to be fucking stoked, and you should.
Yeah.
But there's shit that comes up in your day that's going to try to fuck with your frequency.
But that's the thing. It's how you react to it.
It's how you react to it. And usually when you turn whatever it is you're reacting to back to the perspective thing and try to, switch it into, hey man, well, at least, and it's funny because
could be worse.
Yeah, it could be worse. Like, doesn't matter if it's a car accident, doesn't matter if it's paralysis,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter if it's your fucking spot burned down.
Yeah.
Like my farm, got hit. We lost shit. I don't even like to talk about how many boxes of firework that we lost, all trimmed up, all tested, all ready to fucking hit the market in packages and everything. And you know, I told my partner and I told the whole crew, because, you know, it's like, bro, we got about 20 people that are always working with us full time. And, you know, you want your team to feel secure. But when your spot gets fucking broken into at 3 a.m. and motherfuckers are clearing corners with, you know, extended clips and shit, and you know, it's not a good environment. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It almost, it's a violation of people's privacy. You know what I mean? And, but we've been able to manage to spin it into whatever. Fuck it. You know what I'm saying? What are we going to do?
Yeah.
What do you do? Pull up fucking chocks and close doors?
Yeah. You got to roll with the punches. Because
some jack boys are thinking, I'm going to fucking focus my career on jacking growers.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
see, and that to me, it's almost like terrorism. You can't let them win. You let them win, you close down, you know?
100%.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, you know, your balance and your AR and all, you know, your accounting could dictate how fucked up you're going to get about it. But also, if you stay in that mindset of, I can solve this, I'll figure it out, well, then you'll figure it out. But if you say to yourself, fuck it, I got to throw it in, and you make whatever excuses you make to yourself, which they could be valid excuses.
Yeah.
And there's always a time to just say, fuck it. You know what I mean? But circling back almost to earlier about cannabis, it's like, you know, after my gunshot wound, after all my, you know, suffering and sacrificing. And the funny thing is gunshot wounds and paralysis, bro, we've been through fires, raids, you know, like break-ins, you know, when spots gets, you know, hit, then they're done. You know what I'm saying? It's like, bro, that spot's done.
Yeah.
You can't continue to operate out of that spot once it gets hit.
For sure.
So it's like, you know, it's not just gunshot wounds. I mean, and
a lot
it's
of factors.
And it's funny now because, you know, there's so many other factors, like, you know, facing multi-million-dollar companies that are just fucking undercutting you with a bunch of Bammer from McDonald's farms that, you know, aren't any way, shape, or form concerned about how the cannabis is grown.
Yeah.
You know, they got a chem dog that looks just like a Blue Dream, and it smells the same because, you know, they're growing it all in row crops like some fucking pistachio grower or some almond orchard guy that just ripped out 40 acres of almonds and said, fuck it, I'm going to put some cannabis in here.
Yeah.
And then they just grow a bunch of shit that's just going to get white labeled and then force us out. So we got challenges from every angle.
It's not an easy,
but
not an easy industry.
Stay true and just make it happen.
That's it. Quick question for the logo. Were you ever like a skier or snowboarder?
Snowboarded, surfed, skated, everything.
Only reason I ask is because it's giving me Patagonia vibes.
You know, that's kind of funny. I will deny that all the way to the end.
Okay.
No, it's marketing is a psyop. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So you want to connect with people.
Absolutely. I connected with that right away, you know?
So, you know, I wanted to get out into the field, and I'm challenged. You know what I'm saying? I'm working on a limited budget. Everything is, you know, bootstrapped. You know, nobody owns us. Yeah. It's just us. And you got to compete with the Stizzies and the Jeters and the, you know, all these other brands that are just, you know, stacked with money.
Absolutely.
So, you know, I'm trying to always play, but I'm also trying to play to what we're all about, which is natural, native, regenerative, you know, clean medicine.
And you want to talk about community too. There's no better community to market to than the skiers and the snowboarders. So back to the logo. It definitely gave Patagonia vibes. You want to get into that a little bit?
So,
just pull it towards you.
Yep, gotcha.
Yep, there you go.
I had to do an emergency exit there for a second. So yeah, no, when I started coming up with a bunch of different marketing ideas for the initial like bags, you know, because we kind of started out with eighths and kind of evolved into, you know, everything. I kind of wanted to like, you know, something natural, something catchy, something kind of, so obviously, shout out to my Broke Boys familia, all the Broke Boys homies from the Bay. They had, Got Bars, Turpenstein, that, you know, we go way back. So it's like kind of old school trapper / brand, Clout King, all those guys.
Okay.
But they had a Broke Boys logo that was like the Oakland. It was kind of like a you know, play on the Patagonia design, but it was like all the Oakland downtown.
That's funny.
You know what I'm saying?
So like city Patagonia.
Yeah, like city Patagonia with Broke Boys underneath it. I was like, oh, I like that shit. And then I went over to the homies at Sticker Farmer, and my boy Jack was like, I'll come up with some shit for you. And I told him, I'm like, bro, I need it to be, you know, kind of catchy. And then I wanted it to have, it's kind of sad now because I'm from the Bay. I wanted to have Oakland A's colors.
Okay.
Because I mean, I know I'm in LA. I love LA. I was a Dodger fan. I mean, I'm all over fan. I live in San Diego.
Absolutely.
But I'm a Bay Area cat, to the core. That's where I spent most of my life.
Okay.
So I wanted it to have the green and the yellow and just kind of like work that shit in, you know what I mean? And somehow that's what I came up with. And
beautiful.
Like I said before, when you're marketing, you're trying to kind of, intermix marketing with like psychology.
You want it to look familiar.
You just need somebody to stop when they're looking at 50 brands.
Exactly.
What's that Murphy's Ridge? The other thing about my brand is I've always tried to stay very nuanced about what we sell.
Okay.
So like even like
what do you guys sell?
Well, we sell everything.
Okay.
I mean, from eighths all the way up to zips to pre-rolls to infused pre-rolls. We want to battle with every brand out there.
Do you do any vapes or anything like that?
No, I'm not in the concentrates game just yet.
Okay.
Just because all of my concentrates pretty much go to either Diamond's batter or infusing our own product.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
That makes sense.
I've had some people try to be like, Sean, we need to do the vapes. And I'm like, I smoke cold fires, bro. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I love those. I smoke a bunch of other rosins, Team Elite, a bunch of other homies that have fire, work.
Okay.
Terry over at Hash and Flowers is a homie. So, but we needed to stick to what works. You know what I mean? And everything comes from flower. And the majority of the customers want to just buy an eighth.
Yeah.
Or quarter if they like it, or a half, or a zip.
Yeah.
So, getting into the game, it was like, all right, I'm a nobody.
Yeah.
Even though I had a lot of connections, it didn't matter.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny.
Yeah.
I thought getting into this recreational market was going to be kind of easy. I'll be sold out, in like a couple weeks or something, in a kind of weird like mindset. I was thinking like, damn, after about a month out there on the road hitting stores,
yeah,
I was like, fuck, this is next to paralysis. This is almost the biggest challenge I've ever faced.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? Because selling packs is easy.
Yeah.
You sell 1 pound, it's like, boom. You sell 100 pounds, boom. It's a one transaction. You sell 500 pounds, easy, boom, 500 pounds.
That's it.
You sell a pound, it's now 128 transactions. You know what I'm saying? So it's like,
I know I come from that world.
Okay.
So.
Yeah. And it's like, it challenges everything that you kind of know from being a bulk guy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's like, it's not like I'm like ignorant to sales. It's just that, damn, this is challenging, and we're packaging, we're doing everything ourselves. So we don't use no third parties, because guaranteeing that quality assurance through third parties, it just isn't there. God bless them.
Yeah.
There's one homie I work with. I got hella homies in the game, but one person that works with me is C4. That's Chico, California Cannabis Company. That's my boy Dave. He crushes it, dude. So, he's up there. He's got a Type 7. He's got a bunch of different stuff. He does all my concentrates.
Okay.
And he just got out of the Army. We've been homies for like almost 30 years. He just did a 20-plus year, career.
Wow.
He was in the Marine Corps, then he was in the Army, and then,
God
just
bless.
Tons of deployments, and then, just a super cool guy. We've known each other forever. And so I use him for some of my, third-party services, if you will. But outside of that, I think every extractor starts their career with the best intentions, and then somehow they get on the fucking shady road.
Yeah.
They say this, they deliver that, they do this, they have excuses of why the yield, or, oh, bro, you popped on something. You're like, dude, are you serious right now? You're like trying to pull that shit?
Yeah.
And so it's like, I've found that fuck all the worms that are going to do wormy shit.
Yeah.
God bless them. I just don't want anything to do with it.
Of course.
You know what I mean? So I try to keep everything in-house. So when we do carts, it'll probably be, just carts from fresh frozen from our farm.
Beautiful.
And so
keep it simple.
Yeah. I mean, and at the end of the day, carts is a great market. Hash holes, we're gonna crush in the hash holes.
Absolutely.
We're not doing hash holes yet, so don't start hitting up the retailers and be like, "Where's the Murphy's Ridge hash holes?"
Yeah.
But when we can single source it through this season, because we just started the 1 full acre of K&F, all regenerative farming. Our terps, bro, are going to be through the roof.
Beautiful.
A lot of growers may have heard about this, and I'm talking to all of you.
So are you guys going to wash that stuff? Like some,
yeah, well, we'll save some of that for fresh frozen.
Beautiful.
You know what I'm saying? But like some of it's gonna, you know, be flour, some of it's gonna be pre-rolls, some of it's gonna probably be maybe some cured, you know, product in the sense of like concentrates, diamonds, stuff like that.
Absolutely.
But we'll put away a portion of it in the freezers on the property. I won't even really let it go, you know, to an extractor in that sense, because once it's out of your, you know, custodial control,
you never know.
I just don't like it.
It's
like, yeah, I know I'm a little bit control freak when it comes to that, but it's like, you know, fuck me once, you know, it's shame on you.
Yeah.
And then after that, it's shame on me.
Absolutely.
Like, so, you know, I've had bad experiences with certain cats out there. To remain nameless right now, but you know you guys are. you know I ain't never gonna forget you guys.
That's for damn sure.
And you still owe me some money, so don't trip. I'm not suing you, but
pay up.
If you ever wanted to be straight, get me right.
There you go. I like it.
You know you are.
So now where do you see Murphy's Ridge, say 5-10 years down the line?
Whew. Surviving for sure.
Absolutely.
One thing I think that we just need to keep focusing on is delivering super fire quality product, you know, KNF, organic, no-till type medicine at an affordable price. Diversify our portfolio, if you will, what we can offer the customers, and just let them know what we are.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? That's the proof of concept thing. Do you know what I'm saying? Whereas like, I don't want to have 5, 10, 20, 30 acres of flower.
Yeah.
I don't want to be that, you know, Budweiser producer of a bunch of whack ass product that nobody really is seeking, but they'll get it shoved down their throats.
Yeah.
That's not where I see us at.
Okay.
I see us, you know, maybe partnering up with other similar, you know, like-minded, regenerative, no-till type farmers that are producing fire medicine, terpene quality that's off the charts, testing at that Cat 4, you know, that next level kind of testing, being open to like, hey, I got nothing to hide. You know what I'm saying? Like, you come check out my soil, you come check out anything to an extent. Not like, you know, some super like IP, you know, crazy. We don't have
Speaking of Cat 4 though. You want to just touch on that? Okay, dope.
Yeah, no,
absolutely.
we're Cat 4 just because, you know, Catalyst is trying to, like, a lot of people in the recreational market don't even know that DCC kind of only requests like a 66 type of contaminant panel.
Okay.
And, you know, on a Cat 4 kind of level, you're testing for like 200 different contaminants.
Wow.
And so, you know, if you want to hold yourself to that standard, just get your testing done to that panel.
Absolutely.
You know, the farmers know that they can do it.
Yeah.
If you don't want to do it, it's no worries either. It costs a little bit more money as well, but you also, we test for terpene profiles where a lot of like farmers might not even test for terpene profiles because they don't really even want to say that it's not registering.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or, you know, the terp is like 0.0101%, you know, we're testing regularly, you know, somewhere between 2 and 4, sometimes 1.5, but that's kind of like, you know, a real good window to be in.
Absolutely.
And we're always trying to get better. That's why because we weren't no-till before and we weren't regenerative. Now, you know, my partner Colin, God bless you, brother, I love you. We've gone to like another level. We're doing some crazy stuff out there I won't even get into because I can talk on it a little bit, but I don't want to sound like a dumbass. I'm trying to learn more and more about it.
Absolutely.
But dude, we're fermenting some shit. We're, you know, creating IMOs.
Okay.
You know, one of the things that I really love about it is you capture mycelium, okay? Native, like organic mycelium. A lot of people are familiar with mycelium from just growing fire different strains of mushrooms. You know, a lot of my grower homies got into the mushroom game years ago because they were like, bro, the weed game's done.
Yeah.
And then the mushroom game got blown up. But, you know, everybody was growing different strains. The mycelium that they grow those strains with is unique, obviously, to that, you know, strain.
Yeah.
Here, like, where are we at? San Fernando Valley somewhere? What city is this? Van Nuys?
Yeah.
Okay. We're in Van Nuys. Like, there's barely any native or natural mycelium left.
For sure.
Here. Do you know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
All the earth has been scraped. It's been paved. It's been, you know, it's been ran through.
Yeah.
Now, that's why, like, some of the fire work, bro, from back in the day, like I remember from the 80s and the 90s that was coming out of Humboldt and, you know, the Emerald Triangle and Mendo and Trinity. Bro, they were growing fire and they still grow fire, don't get me wrong, but
Yeah.
a lot of the forest, a lot of the soils, a lot of people's mediums that they grow in have been depleted.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah.
Like if it wasn't for profit, just people being like, fuck, bro, I got hella land. I'm going to just start, producing bags of dirt.
Yeah.
Like that's a super smart business
Yeah.
move. There's a bunch of cats that have done that.
It's true.
But I just think the shit has been harvested and ran through so hard that even like when you're buying soil and you're trying to buy that fire and you're trying to get your amendments all right,
Yeah. It's tough.
you're still buying from the commercial market. You don't know where it was kind of sourced from.
Yeah.
We're leveling up on some crazy shit,
For
bro.
sure.
So we went out, we caught mycelium in our area. You know what I'm saying? And our area is forest, bro.
Yeah.
That's why I focus towards natural stuff, and even when I was talking about the brand,
Yeah.
it's like watch your ash, it's all about, living soil. It's all about not taking anything more from the earth than
Yeah.
you're actually providing.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a trip. We're not buying amendments anymore. We're doing everything on the farm.
Beautiful.
We're grabbing oak, we're grabbing this, we're chipping. I mean, dude, it's some like straight crazy, like next level biology stuff.
Wild shit.
A little bit beyond my understanding, to be honest with you. Not that I don't get it conceptually. It's just I'm not implementing it. So I'm not up on the farm doing it every day, but
Of
my
course.
boy's doing this 9 days a week.
So
bro.
he knows.
Oh yeah. And it's hard to catch the mycelium.
Yeah.
We had to go put out little cedar boxes with a bunch of rice cooked in there, or cooked at a certain pressure. Can't be too hard, can't be overcooked.
Wow.
And then you go put it in the forest in crazy little areas where there's natural native mycelium growing, but you can't kind of see it.
Okay.
And capture it. And then you take the lid off your box, you bring it back into your facility, and now I can show you pictures and shit. I'll leave you guys with some so you
sure.
can probably post it up.
Definitely.
Bro, it looks like just straight, it's inoculated. It's just growing like fungus, but it's all beneficial bacteria.
Wow.
It's eating everything in its path and in its way to break it down so that it's more available for your plant.
Got you.
And in a natural state.
Yeah.
It's not some chemical or synthetic fertilizer that was made in Holland or made in Long Beach or who knows.
Yeah.
Miami. You know what I
Very
mean?
true.
It's sourced from Russia or China. It's some crazy, main ingredient. So anyway, I can go off forever about
Absolutely.
growing because, bro, it's everything.
Yeah, no,
You
it
talk
is.
to any growers too, bro. They grow the same strain, same facility, 2 different rooms, different finish.
Yep. It's true.
You grow it in rockwool, you grow it in cocoa, you grow it in perlite, you grow it in a combo of all of those things.
Yeah.
You grow it in soil. You know what I mean?
Yep.
It's all going to finish differently, going to
Absolutely.
test differently, going to
Yeah.
smoke differently. It's like,
That's the
geez.
mind blowing shit.
It
And
is.
they just did a study, and I learned this because I do news every day now, that only I think 19 or 20% of all cannabis has the same genetics. So other than that, it's all different.
Yeah.
So
Well, I believe it because I always say to people in stores when we talk about phenotypes, because I talk to a lot of customers, and that's sometimes, man, that's some of the best, fulfilling, fun stuff about our industry still is talking to customers at the store, chopping it up.
For sure.
But the thing is I'll say I have 5 siblings. None of us are the same. You know what I'm saying? But if y'all come from the same parents, you would think you should be the same.
Absolutely.
But it's kind of like how strains. If you go pop 10 beans of the same, seeds, you're going to have 10 different, phenotypes of the same genetics.
It's crazy.
And so it just goes on forever. It's kind of endless.
It's cool.
It is
Cool shit.
That's
and
what's
that's
always
why
kept us
you want to go
interested.
try every grower's. Hey, I want
100%.
to try your version of Blue Dream and your version of Blue Dream. I know Blue Dream's not like
Nah, dude,
the top,
it's just,
but
it's
I
just
like
a staple.
it. Yeah.
It's just, bro, I remember the first time I grew Blue Dream inside. I thought I found the fucking holy grail. It was fire. It smelt fire. It yielded like crazy.
Yep.
And then, 3 months later, everybody's like, bro, that Blue Dreams ran through. It's done. You know what I'm saying? It's always funny because in the market over the decades, you can try to think you have a winner. And the market says
Changes.
no.
Everyone wants something new. That's why.
Yeah, but a lot of the OGs or even the GDPs or those candy gases, they've had a the candy gases are kind of more like 5-10 years old, but they've had a long run.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? So people were shitting on OG for a minute because it wasn't candy, but all gas.
Yeah.
But now people are like, that's one of the fun things about talking to customers, because, you know, they love talking to you about some train wreck or some silver, you know, super silver or some
headband.
Yeah, just some Cali orange or some like old school, you know, all these strains that everybody has kind of given up on because they all grow crazy names of strains.
Yeah. And sometimes they don't yield the best. So they're like, oh,
you know.
Yep.
Yeah, it's different depending on what shelf you're shopping on.
Of course.
You know what I mean? I think that's the biggest thing. I try to talk to customers. Well, I try to talk to every customer coming through the door.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, hey, what up? How you doing? And it don't matter if they're shopping for edibles or shopping for flower.
Yeah.
I want to interact with them and just, you know, have a good conversation, hopefully, and then you know, ask them if I can get a chance to earn their business.
Absolutely.
But at the same time, if they're shopping for carts or edibles or even a cam or a connected or a team elite or a alien or something, whatever, if they're shopping for something on that shelf, you know, and they're not confident in what they want, you know, I'll try to be like, hey, you know, this farm's that farm's this, and support the real ones in the game, because you know, that's how everybody stays in the industry.
Of course.
And so that's fun, but it's like, bro, they love all the old school genetics, the AJ Sour, you know what I'm saying? Just like all kinds of different.
Jack Herrera.
Yeah.
Yep. Come on.
Oh yeah, it's one of my favorite strains.
Great.
Yeah.
Great strain.
I'm more of a sativa guy. I definitely am one of those dudes that wants to smoke and almost feel like I'm about to get pulled over.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you're looking in your mirror, bro, and the cop's behind you.
I do kind of like that.
That's the anxiety I like to kind of have.
Okay.
You know, I don't like the heavy strains that just get me like super
slumped.
Yeah, just munchies.
Yep.
Chilling.
Yep.
You know, you're not doing anything today. You know, it's over.
Sit at home.
Yeah,
that's it.
Yeah, it's over. Like whatever you thought you were doing, just bring it down a few notches and just get through the rest of it.
For sure.
Nah, I love that fucking tangy kind of Jack.
Same here,
you
bro.
Know, and even the mangoes, you know,
Yeah. Those are the natural terps. Fuck sprayed terps. You know, like that's the terps you're looking for.
On that. Yeah. That's a crazy part of the industry that I advocate against.
I
you
agree.
know what I'm saying?
I 100% agree.
I'm sure customers can do what they want. You know, I say do it, but you know, at least just know what you're doing.
Yeah. Be conscious.
That's the biggest thing. You know, just know who you're supporting, know what you're putting in your body, so then that way you can make an informed decision. You know what I mean? I'm not trying to tell you to only smoke Murphy's Ridge, by no means. You know, try a bunch of different farms, but try to support the small farmers that are still, you know, trying to supply the recreational market, and they're competing with those multi-million, you know, multinational, you know, hedge fund type companies that are just trying to squash all the small owner operators.
Yeah.
So then that way they can come in, either buy it for pennies on the dollar, or just don't even actually have any financial interest in it at all because you've been smashed. And then they're going to, you know, lobby the government to lower the taxes and to also create moats and barriers and fences so none of us could get back in the industry, even if we had to file bankruptcy with one type of company and get back into it, like, you know, different aspect. Yeah. They're going to try to create all these like barriers.
Of course.
And then that way they can monopolize the game, just like they do with the beer industry and, you know, tobacco and
unfortunately, it's going to head there.
Oh, it's going to head there. But see, here's the thing that I believe.
We got to do something about it right now.
Well, we're doing something about
That's
it right here,
saying.
talking to you. You know, I'm doing something about it every day, just trying to, further the brand, be out there in the market, be in the arena, if you will.
So that when they do come, at least we can work together and not be.
Well, there's only so much market share. Do you know what I'm saying? That's the thing. That's why customers always have to be in the loop on like, hey, if you support these corporate farms, you're almost putting small farms out of business. Yeah. And once they're out of business, they're not going to be able to come back. Yeah. So your selection of Bammer is going to be all you can get now, unless you're, you know, going back to the gray side or something where those people are all falling off as well. Absolutely. It's challenging.
No, definitely.
And so, you know, that's where it's at. So just know if you're going to support that McDonald's, you know, brand, the people that have nothing to do with anything of where we've brought the industry since it's, you know, 1996 is when it got legal in Cali. Okay. You know, you had to have cojones, you know, the size of freaking.
To do anything before that.
But, well, before that, we all did it.
Okay.
But I'm talking about on legal side. You know what I'm saying? Because in 96, you could go to battle. Yeah. You know, you might catch a state case and a federal case, but it's legal.
Yeah.
it's been voted into law, it's been legislated.
Yeah.
But it took it took a lot of years for people to have the courage to be, and I wasn't even one of them, bro.
Yeah.
I got a good friend, Caleb Counts. I'm an equity owner in Connected Alien, so
Okay.
that's why sometimes I'll fucking mention them because they're the homies. I love them.
Shout
out to Ted and Caleb. But Caleb and I go back all the way to where he was in college at Chico State, and we used to all move packs, and he was younger than me, but 2007 he hits me up. We're doing our thing over the years. Everybody's growing and maturing, and he's like, I'm opening a store. And I'm like, what?
Mm-hmm.
Lose my fucking number, bro. You're going to be hot as fuck.
Yeah.
Like, all of us trappers kind of just figured, like, once you open a store, you're putting yourself on Front Street.
Yeah.
But I admired and loved what he did, you know what I'm saying? And so he opened Fruit Ridge Health and Wellness.
Okay.
And then that became Collective Efforts, and then that became Cookies, and then that became Connected.
There you go.
And then, here we are. So, but from then to here, it's like been a crazy journey.
Ups and downs, lefts, rights.
Yeah, exactly. So, but yeah, it's been pretty fun. But back to Murphy's Ridge, it's all about just offering the customer exactly what the main brands that are all, Chads and Brads, in my opinion. No love lost for Chad or Brad out there, bro. If you guys are killing it, God bless you. But absolutely. I just don't want the corporate suits to be able to come in and just push us out of our industry, especially with like inferior product coming from like Budweiser, McDonald's type giant operation. Yeah. And they're just buying the cheapest fucking weed that they can find so they can white label it, roll it into pre-rolls, do whatever the hell. So, we want to compete with whatever product is out there by the, corporate brands. Yeah. And definitely meet or beat them on price. And then quality, it's not even the same. It's
for sure.
We're not even on the same page.
Absolutely. Cat 4, I mean, shit, like you said, they can test if they want, but
yeah, they're not going to get into that because see, the thing about corporate farming is you have to treat your canopy with pesticides, miticides, and fungicides that we would never use. Okay. But they have to use because if they have a crop failure on 20 acres or 40 acres or something bigger, that's well, they're done. Yeah, exactly. And they're looking at it as like, well, these aren't banned substances.
They're not illegal.
They're not illegal. Yeah. They're just not, the
cleanest.
Yeah, they're just not the most medicinal way to go about something you're going to consume into your bloodstream. You know what I'm saying? It's like, it's funny because a lot of these things are legal for food production. Yeah. But you don't smoke food or put the food into your bloodstream in that sense. You digest food. Yeah. It's getting processed a whole different way. You're not smoking it through flour. You're not smoking it through vape pens. You're not, you're not taking rips off the rig of some rosin that's got some crazy concentration of some legal synthetic, compound. But who knows what it's going to do? It's very true. Very true. I know I've done a lot of things in my life. I'm not the healthiest person, but I try to be, especially when it comes to if we know what we're growing, it's what we're consuming.
For sure.
You know what I mean? So it's like kind of like no brainer.
Absolutely. Might as well treat it the best.
Might as well.
If there's any last things you want the people to know before we do wrap up, what would be one thing you want to say about Murphy's Ridge?
Man, just give me a shot to earn your business. If you ever shop on my shelf, one of my biggest pet peeves when I first got into the game was I want to have an affordable eighth for 20 or less out the door. Okay. I don't want the retailer to be able to charge 25 or 22 or 27 or $21.99. Yeah. I'm like, hey, bro, I want you guys to get the customer an affordable eighth of weed, period. Yeah. What do we got to do to make that happen?
For sure.
So I'd ask that if you're out there shopping at any retail stores, check them out, say what up, you know what I'm saying? Be like, hey, you guys carry Murphy's Ridge? If you don't, you should.
Where can they find you?
You can find me at all the Catalyst locations, Premier Stores, Cake House.
Are you on Weed Maps?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't fuck with Weed Maps.
Gotcha.
I mean, like, I'm just a cultivator and a distributor and, somewhat of a processor.
Okay.
But at the end of the day, I'm not paying Weed Maps to be on Weed Maps.
Of course.
You know what I'm saying? Like, if the retailers pay them, that's something I'm not privy. I mean, I wouldn't even know if I'm on there.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Interesting.
It's kind of a trip. You know what I mean? You got to have a back office that's pretty lean and mean. So, you know, I do everything along with my partner, Jordan. He's like the main, you know, he does everything.
Okay.
But like, you know, we got to have you got to run lean in this business. Otherwise, you know, you're not going to be here.
For sure.
So, you know, in closing, I would just say, you know, give me a follow on Instagram. Hopefully you can follow the journey. I kind of try to document as much of it as possible.
Okay.
Kind of like even getting on social media. I was never wanting to be a social media guy.
Course.
I did it just for like, you know, scrolling.
Yeah.
I got it right when it came out.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like I was like Instagram, my kids were on the shit.
Yeah.
I was like, what are you guys on?
Of course.
They're like, oh, IG, Snapchat,
But now,
all these
holy
different
shit, it's
yeah,
so important.
and but I never even put a post up
Yeah.
until a couple of years back. And I'm like, you know, looking like a convict, you know, like doing a statement. How's it going, everybody? I'm Sean. You know, but
Yeah.
it's funny because, you know, I just try to like kind of build the page around every different city I'm in, where I'm going, the dispensaries I'm at.
Yeah.
Like I'll put some of this podcast, but the page is actually kind of evolving right now because,
Okay.
you know, I might kind of not be a motivational speaker or anything like that, but more, you know, towards like clips that are going to be a little bit more impactful, you know, not just Sean running around the state being like, hey, I'm at Catalyst in Grover Beach today, guys.
Yeah.
I know you've seen me here fucking, you know, over the last 2 years.
Yeah.
But I'm back,
Yep.
you know? So it's like, you know, I'm not an IG guy though, you know, so it's like hard to keep everything going and then talk to people and be
It's
like,
tough,
hey, you want to
man.
do some edits?
Yeah.
But I'm blessed. I got a lot of people that are, you know, show me love and people that want to help out. And so, you know, I'm trying to learn how to take advantage of the help that's offered.
Absolutely.
But also keep that control. You know what I mean? In a sense, I don't want people just posting weird shit on my Instagram. And then all of a sudden I'm like, what the fuck? That's not me.
me. Yeah.
That's like, I want to be genuine.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Authenticity in this game is everything.
Super important.
And it's like my whole life has been that. You know, I've spent years doing shit that I didn't want to do because I gave somebody my word.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like if I give you my word, it means that I'm going to come through.
Absolutely.
And sometimes the difference between people that, you know, fall back on their word is when the shit gets rough. They're like, bro, I can't do this shit.
Yeah.
I've been struggling for 8 months. You're like, bro, what do you mean?
Yeah.
I know it's hard.
Yeah.
But, you know, that's kind of, you know, so that's what Murphy's Ridge is all about. It's all about perspective. It's all about being grateful. It's all about making it happen and hard work, you
Beautiful. I love it. I love the brand. I love the logo, and I love the guy behind the brand. So
Thank you,
even
brother.
better.
Appreciate it.
Of course. Where can they find you on Instagram?
Murphy's_Ridge.
Okay. Beautiful.
And you'll see a couple different, you know, but you'll see me up on there. Can't hit a fake one at this point.
Beautiful.
You know what I mean?
Beautiful.
So yeah, hit me up on the IG, Murphy's_Ridge.
Murphy's Ridge. We love to see it. I love the regenerative soil. I love that you're keeping it all natural. Keep doing your thing. I would love to come up and visit the facility.
You're more than welcome.
I appreciate that. But thank you for your energy. Thank you for telling your story. And I think the people needed to hear this one.
Appreciate it.
So that's it for today's podcast. Shout out to the vendor today that came out to cater for us, Tacos El Moro. He always hooks it up. He comes to our events. Great guy. But tell your mother, your brother, your sister, your mistress, tell anyone who doesn't even smoke weed. There's just good stories on here. So we'll see you on the next pod.
I just had the bluest dream that you've ever seen, and I can't believe that shit was green, cause it hit so clean, and my history is a mystery. I don't give a fuck, I just hit the tree on the 5th degree. We don't pit for free. If you don't got 5 shit, get up and leave.